Hi everyone. Hi guys. Welcome to this second episode of Cybersecurity. And first and foremost, I wish you a happy new year. We are in a new year, which is 2024. I remember the last time we started looking at cybersecurity, we did Unit 1. And then after finishing Unit 1, we also had some quiz, which you're supposed to actually answer online. And then apart from that, today we proceed by looking at episode 2 or unit 2 of cyber security. So under unit 2 of cyber security, we are going to mainly focus on authentication and the cryptography. Okay, so we're going to focus on authentication and the cryptography, which is very much important in cybersecurity. So yeah, like I said, we are looking at unit 2, and our main focus is authentication and cryptography. Now let us start by looking at authentication. So under authentication here, we are saying that authentication and cryptography are essential components of cybersecurity. So authentication and the cryptography are essential component of computer security, working together to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, authenticity of data and communication. So authentication and cryptography, they ensure that there is confidentiality, integrity, intensity, and communication within the database. So we're going to look at some more detailed and comprehensive notes that actually explains this aspect of authentication and cryptography. So let us start by looking at authentication and what is involved in authentication. So under authentication, we are saying that authentication methods are techniques used to verify the identity of a user. So when you bring the aspect of authentication, it means that you need to identify or you need to verify the identity of the user. So if you want to verify the identity of a user, you use authentication, which is very much important. So like I said earlier on, we are saying that authentication method technique is used to verify the identity of a user, or the identity of a user, a system, or entity before granting access to the resource or information. So before the user, the user or the system or the entity can be granted permission to log into the system, there should be an aspect of authentication, very important. Before the user or the system or entities can be granted, can be granted to see the resources or information, they have to pass through the point of authentication. Okay, so now when you look at the point of authentication, this brings the aspect of the password. So it brings, in order for the user or the system or the entities to access the resources or the information, there should be an aspect of authentication. And under authentication, we have authentication such as different authentication, such as password. So we're going to start looking at what creates or what involves to create a better password and so on and so forth. So when you talk of a password, which is the first part of authentication, here we're saying that passwords are the most commonly authentication method. So the most commonly authentication methods are passwords. So if you put a password on something, it means that you are applying authentication. Anywhere you put a password, it means that you are bringing the aspect of authentication. So anywhere where you have actually put a password, it means that this is part of authentication, which is also very much important. And then here we are saying that user provides secret combinations of characters to their identity. Okay, so the users are able to provide a combination of characters to prove their identity. So in order to prove your identity, if you want to log in into your system, you need to provide your password. So this password is made up of different characters. So the password is made up of different characters. Specifically, maybe your password can actually have 12 characters, 12 length, 12 characters, and mostly likely a strong password must have the uppercase character, it must have the lowercase character, it must have numbers, and then it also must have the special characters. So that's what makes a strong password. So here, in order for a user or a system or entity to access the information, they need to actually enter the password, which is very much important. Okay. Then apart from that is also an aspect of, best practice includes using complex, unique password, enforcing password policy, like legal changes. So you can be making changes of your password, like maybe if you're scared of something, but again, if you're scared of something, it is also very much important that you put up a strong password to the data and the information, and then you also keep on updating the password regularly. It is very much important. Okay, and then apart from the aspect of the password, which falls under authentication, there is also another part which is biometric. Okay, there is also another part which is biometric authentication. Now, when you talk of biometric authentication, use unique physical or behavioral characters of individuals. So here, examples include fingerprint recognition, iris scans, facial recognition, voice recognition. So when you bring the aspect of biometric authentication, you find that there are people, there are users that may want to use a fingerprint to open the data or the information. So if you use a fingerprint to open your phone, if you use your iris of your eye to open your phone, if you use facial expression, maybe it's your face, just showing your face to the system, it's able to recognize you. Just using the voice, it is able to recognize you. So this falls under biometric. So this is another way of providing authenticity or authentication to your data or information. Now, again, when you look at these types of authentication, at some point they may have advantages and disadvantages, because when you talk of using your fingerprint, so if anything happens to your fingerprint, meaning your system cannot open, that can also be the disadvantage. But when it comes to security, it's a better way again. But to a large extent, if anything happens to your fingerprint, meaning the system cannot open, that's how it works. And then again, if there is anything with your iris, meaning of your eye, meaning again, the system cannot open. Again, the other point is that if there's any problem with your facial recognition, the system cannot open. Maybe when people get drunk, they get to look different and weird, but it doesn't mean. But maybe when you're drunk and then you get to look weird, and the system can't recognize you. So that is for another day. So that's how it works. And the other issue is the voice. If there is any changes to your voice, it means that the system cannot open up. So, biometric authentication can also have advantages and disadvantages, but it is very much important that your data and your information is protected by using these, by using authentication and cryptography. Okay, so we have just talked about the use of the password and also the use of biometric. And then now let's look at another point on biometric. So biometric offer high accuracy, but may raise privacy concern. So yeah, definitely when you talk of biometric, it can be of high privacy, but again, it may raise privacy concern. It may raise privacy concern at at some point, like indeed for sure, like if no one can actually open your system and apart from you, so if anything happens to your biometric authentication, it could be your fingerprint, your facial expression, your iris, and your voice, no one can actually open it. So yeah, those are some of the points that that are really considered on the aspect of authentication. Now, okay, let us also proceed by looking at another authentication aspect, which is multiple factor authentication, MFA. So we proceed by looking at another authentication, which is multiple factor authentication, MFA. Now, when you look at multiple factor authentication here, you combine two or more authentication factors, enhancing security. So here you combine two or more authentication factors to enhance security. So common factors in how it works. Okay, so yeah, that's how it works. And so you definitely open up something. I hope we are still moving on the same pace and hope things working hard here. Okay, so it was just, trying to cut in all things. We continue from there and then, let's try to see how things are. Then, okay, so indeed, so we still we definitely, so yeah, so I'm talking of biometric. We're talking of biometric, and then where we have talked about what we can use, the fingerprint, eye recognition, and the voices, and then now we proceed by looking at multiple factor authentication, which is MFA, and then where we're saying that here you combine two or more authentication factors in enhancing security. So common factors may include something you know. So common factor may include something you know, something you have, and something you are. So it can be, it can be something that you know. It can be a password here, something you know, and it can also be something you have. Maybe smartphone or smartphone token. That's how it works. And then it may also have something you are, like fingerprint, all those. So brings the aspect of multi-factor authentication. And then there is also multi-factor authentication significantly reduces the risk of unauthorized access. So yeah, it's so both these authentications, they have different advantages and disadvantages. Now, apart from that, there is also an aspect of using a smart card and the token. So there's also an aspect of using smart cards and tokens. So here we're saying that smart cards and hardware token generate one-time password. So OTP, okay, so like the OTP or cryptographic keys. So yeah, smart cards and, so you can be using a smart card. So if you're using a smart card, that's another way of providing authentication to your data or your information. So users must possess physical cards or token to authenticate. So you must possess a physical card. So maybe it can be a card. Maybe if you want to access a certain room, you must use the card just to open it. It can be a barcode. Okay, so you must provide a physical card that you can actually use to access your system or your data. That's how it works. Even bank cards, I think, yeah, the ATMs, yeah, it's also was part of the smart cards and shopping. And then the other point is that these are often used in secure environments like corporate networks. Yeah. And then the other point, the other authentication that we have is public key infrastructure. So public key infrastructure, so it's another authentication. Now, when you talk of public key infrastructure, which is PKI, it uses a smart key in cryptography to verify the authenticity of entities. It involves a public key, so it involves a public key where somebody can enter the public key known by everyone. So these public keys are known by everyone. And then there is also a private key known only to the owner. So when you talk of public keys infrastructure, you are bringing the aspect of asymmetric cryptography, where there is a private key which is known by everyone. So this is known by everyone, it is a private key. And then there's also, the public key is actually known by everyone. And then the private key is known by the owner of, could be the system or the organization. That's how it works. So, and then there's also digital certificates are issued by certificate authorized authorities to validate public keys. Okay, so there are also certificates to validate the public keys. Okay, and then there is also knowledge-based authentication. There is also another authentication which we call knowledge-based authentication, which is KBA. So now, knowledge-based authentication involves answering knowledge-based questions like what was your first petty name? Like, I think you've seen this kind of stuff, I think you've seen this kind of stuff where knowledge-based the authentication, where you need to answer certain questions. It involves answering knowledge-based questions like, what was your first petty name? Like, for example, maybe you're trying to open up a system and then you need to put up some questions in case maybe there is any problem that gets to affect your system. When you get to answer those questions, it definitely helps out. Okay, yeah, indeed. And then used for account recovery. Yes, indeed. So if you want to recover your account, definitely. There's certain questions, if you can remember them, it will definitely work out. And then as a secondary authentication factor. Okay, that's how it works, guys. So yeah. And then apart from that, we have practical applications. We have practical applications. Okay, guys, so let's try to do this and see. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this video and hope you're following. So yeah, indeed. Sure, guys, let's do this.